Hello and welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman. I hope that you took the time and enjoyed listening to last week's episode. Last week's episode was part one of a two-part episode called 4 Pillars and 5 Interactions of the Successful Practice. And we spent time talking about the 4 pillars that a successful practice is built upon. If you don't know what those are, you're going to want to go back and listen to last week's episode. But right now, we're going to dig into the second part of this two-part episode and talk about the 5 interactions, maybe it's 6, that you need to master if you want to have a great practice and really a phenomenal chiropractic experience for your patients, for your community, and of course, yourself and your family. Welcome to Season 3 of For the Love of Chiropractic. Season 1 has 60 episodes of practice management tips to help you build the best practice possible. Season 2, 3 keys of my success, 50 interviews with the most successful chiropractors from around the world. Season 3, resources for your success. So let's listen up and learn how to build a great business. All right then. So having listened to last week's episode talking about those 4 pillars, now we're going to start to dig into the 5 interactions that you as a successful chiropractor or growing chiropractor need to have mastered or need to master in order to have the biggest, best, amazing practice that you know you want and can have. And as you heard me say in the introduction, I said it was 5 or maybe 6 different interactions that need to be mastered. So the one we're going to cover first. The question mark 1 is marketing. And the reason marketing is in both pieces, 4 pillars and 5 interactions, or 6 interactions if you're including marketing here, is because when you're out in the community, in any way, shape, or form, you, the doctor, your personality, the way you dress, the way you look, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, all of those things are part of your marketing, whether you realize it or not. You are a member of a community, the town that you practice in, that you live in, that you interact in, and people see you all the time exactly the way you are. So, who are you showing up as? Are you grumpy? Are you unshowered? Is your hair a mess? Are you not dressed nicely? And I'm not saying you need to walk around in a suit or a dress everywhere you go all the time. No, go to the gym, stop at the convenience store, stop at the grocery store in your gym clothes. That's fine. But maybe not run around leaving the gym in a ripped t-shirt. Maybe not the nasty old tennis shoes that have grass stains also. I mean, unless you're stopping in the big box hardware store because you need something for the lawnmower for the yard, then that's okay. Be dressed appropriately is what I'm saying when we talk about marketing, because you are part of the product. It's your office. It's the product you provide. But who's providing the product? It's you. So who are you showing up as? Because the community sees you exactly that way. So that's that other questionable piece when it comes to marketing. When it's social media marketing, okay, what are you putting out there on social media? If you're posting on some of the different social media sites, how you're having a few cocktails and getting sloppy and being silly, is that a professional attitude? Do you think your patients who are friends of yours in social media, that's what they want to see and share with their friends? Be cognizant of that because, again, it's your reputation. It's what they think about all chiropractors, and it's what they're sharing with everybody else. I would love for every chiropractor out there to have tons of social media contacts that are fun, absolutely, respectable, appropriate amount of professionalism that matches what it is you're putting out there. But that's the marketing piece, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that right here and now. There's an entire episode dedicated to marketing and growing your practice earlier on in the catalog, and I would encourage you to go back and listen to that if you're interested in growing your practice and helping more people. But let's now start to dig into the other 5 interactions that you have to have mastered to have the successful practice. There are not going to be many surprises here until you stop to think about them. So, what are the 5? Well, the very first one that comes up are all your day 1 procedures. Everything that happens from the moment the phone rings, it's a new patient, or that new patient walks in the door, or a prospective patient walks in the door. What do they see? What are they hearing? What's the vibe of the office? What does the front desk person say to them? If the person says they'd like to meet the doctor just to sort of pre-interview them, are you available? Or do you keep a veil of, oh, I'm sorry, the doctor can only see you once you're a patient? I can share with you that over the many years that I've practiced, 35 plus, there have been a handful of patients who had seen chiropractors before. They knew they needed a new chiropractor. They just walked in off the street and said to the front desk person, I'd like to speak to the doctor to see if he's the right doctor for me. The CA came back and got me and said, there's someone here who wants to talk to you. Doc, I don't think it's a sales call. It's someone who I think wants to be a patient. Make the time to sit and chat with them. They may have to sit and wait a few minutes while you catch up with other patients that are there waiting to be seen, and that's fine. Tell them that. Doctor has 3 patients that he or she needs to see, and then you know what? They'll happily chat with you. Offer them a bottle of water or a cup of coffee, whatever it is you do in your office, and then come out, shake their hand, say hello, escort that person back to your private office where you do consultations. Let them get the feeling. Ask what their story is. Oh, you've seen chiropractors before. Tell me about that. I'd love to help you. And by the way, every one of those patients, and there wasn't many, over a 35-year period, I'll bet it was less than 10. It was less than 10. It was 6 or 8. Now that I'm thinking about the individual people, they became lifetime maintenance patients who were in the office once or twice a month for decades. Be the doctor who stops and talks to people. So again, we're talking about day 1 procedures, and that's the exception, not the rule. Let's talk about some of the other rules. So what are the things that are going on in the office? There's paperwork to fill out. Is your paperwork arduous? Is it repetitive? Is it on paper or is it on an iPad? Is it easy to do? Would you happily fill out your own paperwork if you went into another doctor's office? These days, most often the paperwork is available online. Do you give that option to your patients? I sure hope you do, because that's how it works in 2026 and going into the future. Come back and do a consultation. When you take them back to do the consultation, have you reviewed the paperwork? I sure hope so. Have some idea what you're walking into. Is it a young person or an old person? Is it a headache, a back issue? What are their chief complaints? What does their surgical history look like? What does their medication list look like? Not that we're managing medications, but you start to get a lot of information when you look at the basic information of the person, their age, their marital status, their job, maybe they're retired. Again, you can start to figure out who you're going to be speaking with, who you're talking to really connect with them instead of figuring it out on the fly. Could you figure it out on the fly? Of course you could. You're an experienced doctor. But why do it on the fly when you can really show up being prepared? And I'm spending way too much time talking about some of these specific things of day 1 because we still have several other interactions that we have to talk about. So you're going to do a great examination. I want your patients to say, wow, I've never had a doctor or a chiropractor do such a thorough examination. I like to make sure we know everything before we do anything. People will respect that. They always do. Is there a release script? Once you have finished the consultation, finished the examination, what are you doing at that point? Lesser successful doctors want to get the person right on the table and give an adjustment right that day. The more successful the doctor, the less often they do that. Why? Because patients prefer you to know everything before you do anything. If you've just done all these tests, take time to review them. And then, on their next visit, sit them down to review everything with them. That's called a report of findings. It's also called proper informed consent. And by doing that, you've taken the time to really sit with the person and explain that you took the time to really figure out what's going on with them and how you can best help them along their health journey of where they need to be. Not necessarily where they think they need to be, because most patients come in thinking, I just want to be out of pain. And we all know that just getting someone out of pain is not fixing their problem. So we've talked about that marketing thing. Maybe it counts for this, maybe it doesn't. We've talked about day 1. We've now crept into day 2 and what that all looks like. I hope you have a great script that you use to explain everything you're going to do regarding an adjustment. Because people have seen a bunch of stuff on the internet, on YouTube and other social media sites of their necks and backs getting cracked. And some are excited, some are scared, some don't know what to think. So how do you explain that? And if you want a great script of how to talk through that first adjustment of what you're going to do, what it is doing, I encourage you to go back. Again, there's a previous episode talking all about the day 2 procedures. Please enjoy it. Okay, so we've talked about day 1 and day 2. And then the thing that we all do most often is what we call the regular patient visit. What do you do on the regular patient visit? What I can tell you is if the first thing you do when you walk in the room is ask the person how they're feeling or what their pain level is today, you have an acute care practice with a low PVA, that's patient visit average, how long people stick with you, because all you're doing is focusing on their pain. Yes, I know for documentation purposes, we have to be able to substantiate there is progress, so we need some recording of that. So asking them on occasion is going to be a much better way. You mean don't ask them every visit? Don't care about how they're feeling? No, I didn't say that. I want you to care about how they're feeling. I want you to figure out what else is going on in their life. What things are they able to now do that they couldn't do before? What things can't they still do that they need to be able to do or want to be able to do because, oh yeah, I'm still having that pain or that discomfort, or I'm not strong enough there yet. There's your documentation piece without focusing on a scale of 0 to 10, what's your pain level? Because very quickly, as people get to a low pain level, 1, 1/2, 0, how many times can you ask them what their pain level is and they keep saying 0, that they start to think, why am I still coming in here if all he cares about is my pain level? I don't have pain. Because it's not about the pain. It's about their functional capacity. It's about what they can do. It's what they need to do. It's what they want to do. It's what else you can help them to do and live a longer, better, healthier life. And all of that is part of every regular patient visit. Maybe you're sharing stories about what the local sports team is doing. I'm okay with that once in a while. Maybe you're sharing stories about what their kids' sports teams are doing or what other activities they're doing, even better. They're gardening, they're water skiing, they're boating in the summertime. They're shoveling snow, they're going downhill skiing, they're going on a Caribbean vacation in the wintertime. Okay, what are those things they're able to do or looking forward to doing? I had a patient years and years ago came in with knee pain. And when we talked about it, yes, she wanted her knee pain gone, but why? Because her life dream was to walk on the Great Wall of China. And based on what we saw in the exam, yeah, I told her, we're going to get you there. And you know what I want? I want a picture of you walking on that wall. And sure enough, if you went into the office that I used to own, there was that picture of her walking the wall, the Great Wall of China, because the architecture stands out. There's no denying it. And I loved when patients would ask me, Doc, who's that lady? And like, it looks like she's in China. Yeah, there's a great success story there. I think that you should still have an old school corkboard in each of your adjusting rooms, or as one of my friends calls it, the adjustatoriums, that has people's photographs that they've brought you, that you've taken in the office. Maybe there's selfies with patients. Because you know what? Your office is a destination. It's not just a doctor's office. The successful chiropractors, their office feels more like a community, a family. And when you have that, people want to be part of that for even longer. So we've talked about the marketing piece. We've talked about day one. We've talked about day two. We've talked about the regular patient visit. What are the other two pieces that we need to discuss in the next couple of minutes? Well, you know what? On occasion, from time to time, about every 12 visits, maybe it's 15 visits, maybe it's even 20, you need to do a re-examination and a re-report of findings. So let's talk about this re-examination. About a week before it comes up, because you should have it marked in the chart so you know when it's coming up, you should say to the person, hey, so next week or one of your visits next week or next Friday, whatever it is, we're going to be doing a reevaluation. I know you're doing better. You know you're doing better. We're going to take some extra time and redo some of the tests that we did the very first time we saw each other to get a measurement of exactly how much better you are. Does that make sense? And if there's a third party involved, like an insurance company, or it's because it's a personal injury case of some kind, you can say, and we need to document exactly what your progress has been to this point for the insurance company, for their attorney, for the case. Ever other clarification or clarifier needs to be added there. So once you've done that re-examination, and I don't think it should be just a quickie two or three tests in the treatment room, in the adjusting room. I think it should be back in the exam room where you initially saw them. Make it special. Change the environment so they know, oh, this is a special, different thing going on. It's not just, well, he had me touch my toes and twist and then said, okay, go ahead and lay down. Do the tests. Really see what's going on. And when you're doing the exam or the re-examination, make sure you're palpating the patient, putting your hands, your fingers on their spine or that body part that you're specifically working with so that you really know what's going on. It's not enough to just watch a passive range of motion and then go from there. We're chiropractors. We touch people. And when we touch them, we learn things about the muscle tone, about the subluxation, about how tender they are. We learn how to get them better even faster. And then we need to do the re-report of findings. Now, when it comes to the re-report of findings, I like to do it in conjunction with that re-examination. And what I mean by that is doing what I call color commentary as I'm checking their range of motion. Okay, go ahead and tilt your chin to your chest. Look up at the ceiling, look over to your right, look over to your left, Bring your right ear down to your right shoulder. Bring your left ear down to your left shoulder. And as you're taking the measurements and writing them down, say things like, good. Oh, that's better. Oh, that one's perfect. That's not as good as I thought it would be. That hasn't improved at all. We need to figure out why and get that one better also. Give them the color commentary as you're going through and doing the re-examination. And once you've done all of the tests, you can then look over those tests because you have the comparison of the initial exam or the previous re-examinations right there in front of you. And you can say, I'm so pleased with how you're coming along. Everything is improving exactly the way that it should be, assuming that's what's going on. And if something isn't, tell them that too. You know, almost everything's improving exactly the way that it should be, but I don't like how this one motion is still restricted. It's tighter than it should be. It's not moving as well as it should be at this point. So here's what we're going to do. When we get into the adjusting room, I'm going to show you some additional exercises, or I'm going to do some additional therapy, or I'm going to do something else or recommend something else, whatever it may be. Give them the game plan right then and there. This is what we saw, this is what we like, this is what we don't like, and this is what we're going to do about it. And finish it with a positive message of some kind. You know, I know you're in a lot of pain. I know you're still having a significant amount of pain, but I know we're on the right track getting you better. That makes everybody feel better. And if you're doing your job, then all those words are true. Now, maybe they're feeling a ton better, and that's awesome also. I'm so glad you're feeling a ton better. The tests show us there's still more work we need to do to really get this the way that it needs to be. And people respect and appreciate that. So having talked about 4 of those interactions, day 1, day 2, and the other ones, now we're up to the final one. And that final piece is what I call the patient education class. Maybe you do old school new patient orientation class or healthcare class in your office at the end of office hours on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I always found worked the best. Or maybe you do what's called drip education, where you give them a little bit of chiropractic information each time that they're in the office. Either way works just fine. But if your patients say things like, hey doc, now why are you cracking me? What's that doing? It means they don't get it. If your patients are saying things like, yeah, I'm just going to come once next week because I don't think I need those other 2. And again, it means they don't get it. If you've recommended it because you know they need a 3-day per week schedule. When they're ready to step care from 3 times a week to twice a week or once a week, that's fine too. Explain why. Giving them the patient education along the way, because when you do that successfully, you get lifetime chiropractic patients who choose you, your office, and your care for themselves and their families for their entire lifetimes. And now I've got something special for you. With last week's episode, we spent time talking about those 4 pillars. On today's episode, we talked about the 5 interactions. And I know from doing this for years and years and training so many doctors and attending and teaching so many seminars over the years, a ton of questions comes up for the actively involved chiropractor. What I'm going to ask you to do, and I'm going to offer to you, is send us a message right on the link of where the podcast is. You're going to see send us a message, send us a text, because what I'm going to start doing is putting together appropriate mastermind groups to work through specific issues that doctors have in a mastermind setting. So I'll look forward to hearing from you, working with you in a group setting, and helping you grow to have the practice of your dreams. All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.